like that. Our stock is on the big come up. Pearl Abyss stock. We are the most played MMOs in 2024. We're here. We're here. Lucky Ghost is what we love. Lucky Ghost.
Hey guys, welcome back. It's Lucky here, and it's now 2024. So let's talk about the state of the MMO genre and go over the most played MMOs right now. A lot has changed since the last time I made this video. We've seen some MMOs move way up on the list and some move way down. This video is strictly by the numbers, which means I'm not ranking them by quality, simply by active player base size. Which MMOs are dying, which MMOs are thriving, let's find out. Dropping one spot to number 14 is EVE Online, a
all right, I'm gonna move my camera, guys, because he's got like the ranking like down here.
Old MMO released way back in 2003, but still being actively supported by its developers and its fans. EVE Online is an MMO.
Doesn't Pearl Abyss own EVE? I'm pretty sure PA owns EVE. I think that yeah, okay. Black Desert has to have moved down. The last time he made this tier list, it was Land of the Morning Light. We definitely moved down on the tier list.
MMO where your goal is to build and upgrade a powerful spaceship so that you can join up with others to vie for control of the most profitable sectors in space. EVE Online is free to play with the option to pay money to do things like access more of the spaceships sooner. It also has an optional sub. As with most optional subs, fans of the game will often tell you that to fully enjoy the game, the sub isn't so optional. EVE Online has a fantastic character creator, but that matters little as you'll rarely see your character. Your focus is on your ship, and it's what you'll spend most of your time controlling. In EVE Online, players
EVE looks like a fun game. It's really old.
Form their own alliances and then battle for control of the universe. PvP in EVE Online is high stakes, as when your ship is destroyed, it does not simply respawn. No, you must build it again. The many hours, days, or months worth of materials you used to build that ship are now gone.
Yeah, it also looks like way more complicated, and I can't, bro.
EVE Online has made headlines as a result of the massive size and scale of some of its player versus player battles, with thousands of players on either side. EVE Online is often called a spreadsheet simulator, as many players engage in tracking materials and costs.
That used to be BDO, if you can believe it. I used to have spreadsheets for my game. I used to have spreadsheets for my stuff. I had wagons in every city. I had everything cataloged that was in every single wagon, and I knew exactly where everything was and how much of everything I had. Now you can do that with a control find function, but fuck you, it was useful.
Diligently. CCP Games finally embraced this and has actually added an integrated spreadsheet into the game. So how is EVE Online's population health? If we look at Google Trends to see how popular a topic EVE Online has been, we can see that its popularity as of late has been slightly sliding. It's definitely trending down.
I would argue that this is doing pretty well. For a game that was released in like 2004, it's still gaming, dude.
Over time, as games typically do after this many years, this could be due to the fact that they've increased their subscription fee to $20. This is no longer a cheap game to play. With EVE Online falling all the way down here to number 14 on the list and having the incredibly expensive subscription fee, it's going to be interesting to see where it goes from here. Next up, slipping one spot from number 12 to number 13 is SWTOR. SWTOR's population is on a fairly steep...
I played this when it came out. I really liked it, except for all the things that I fucking hated about it.
Decline as of late, as BioWare has...
I hated that all the goddamn guns were like way better than the lightsaber classes.
Handed the game off to a new developer to keep it up and running as they move on to new projects. SWTOR launched in 2011, developed by BioWare, published by EA. This is another MMO that is now free to play with an optional sub. That optional sub will unlock a lot of things, but most importantly, it gives you access to all of the zones in the game forever. Even if you only sub for 1 month and then cancel. Veterans of the game will tell you that if you want to actually experience SWTOR, that's exactly what you need to do. SWTOR is probably most known for its amazing class stories that immerse you in the world of Star Wars. The class stories are fully voice acted, are incredible.
Man, how does SWTOR have better cinematics than we do? This is bullshit. Like, I don't understand how Pearl Abyss can't figure this out. We want cinematics that look like this. Every time we get a cinematic in BDO, it's some in-game graphics bullshit. They're always like, oh yeah, we want it to feel more realistic like it's the game. No, I want you to fucking lie to me. I want you to give me the League of Legends quality, the fucking Blizzard Games quality cinematic that gets me all hyped up about playing Dark Knight and fucking over some Rangers that I want.
Well fleshed out and written. Perhaps the most unique part of these stories is that your choices actually have an impact on the ending of your story, with up to 3 different endings possible for each class. This is definitely one of the coolest parts of SWTOR. Unfortunately,
we have no story. We do have a story, and you would be more invested in it if there was actual good cinematics like this. Like if we got cinematics that were just like, all kings must die, my son, you guys would be balling like babies. Y'all motherfuckers you'd be so invested. It doesn't matter that he's talking to a leisure. That's fucking irrelevant.
Fortunately for SWTOR, its last expansion left a lot to be desired, with the community lamenting the fact that it offered barely a few hours of entertainment per faction. It's left the community wondering about the future of the game, and rightfully so. This is a theme that seems to resonate.
Okay, so they didn't get her facial expression very well. This bitch just jumped to safety and like left him to die.
Perfection.
And then she turns around and gives him this fucking...
Left the community wondering about the
get fucked loser kind of like
future.
We didn't really nail it. And look at his fucking face. What? You left me here with this fucking bitch. This fucking bitch.
Of the game, and rightfully so. This is a theme that seems to resonate with a lot of MMO communities right now, as it looks like there are a lot of developers who have quietly begun working on their next big MMO while continuing to support their existing MMOs. Still, SWTOR is a largely single player experience, and if you've never done it before, it could be a lot of fun, particularly if you're a fan of the Star Wars universe. You'll get Star Wars music, art, stories, and lightsabers. The game features 8 classes, split 4 and 4 between Jedi and the Sith faction, with a lot of overlap between the classes on each.
See, like, I can barely even process what he's saying because I'm so invested in the cutscene. That's exactly how good storytelling is done in MMOs.
Side.
None of us know how to fucking read, okay? We barely know how to listen. But if you put some really cool cinematic in front of us, we will sit there and watch it.
Almost as if one side is a near mirror image of the other. It's not a bad...
I also want to point out that that bitch is completely fucking useless. She had one job. She was very clearly supposed to go up the fucking thing and then slice the stupid fucking ball up. But nah, she just got to stare at it.
Game to pick up and play with a friend, as it does feature level scaling, which has resulted in the questing experience becoming very, very easy. So you definitely be jumping in for the story.
He's trying to wake her up. Look at that.
Becoming very, very easy.
She falling asleep. Wake up, you stupid bitch. What are you doing? Look at that. Ah, dude.
So you definitely be jumping in for the story rather than the challenge. So what does the population look like? Well, it's a bit all over the place. The game is done
actually doing really well. Honestly, I think MMOs across like this so far so good.
A decent
MMOs
job of holding
good.
A relatively flat level of interest, although it's definitely on the decline. Still, it's been...
Is it though? Do we know how to read graphs? Let me look at this. This is 2019 and it was just over 25. And then this is 2023 and it's, get this, just above 25. Like,
the game has done a decent job of holding a relatively flat level of interest, although it's definitely on the decline. Still, it's been enough to keep it ahead of EVE Online and is the 13th most popular MMO in the world, which is nothing to sneeze at, but you'd...
It's not exactly like you put up a banner in game. It's like, we're number 13, boys. Let's do it. Right? Like, it's not like you go to your brain surgeon and he's like, I'm the 13th best surgeon in the world. And you're like, wait, what?
Certainly hope for a lot more from a Star Wars MMO, which begs the question, is another Star Wars MMO already in development? Rumors say yes. Next up, moving up 2 places from number 14 to number 12 is going to be Albion Online. Released in 2017 and available on PC, Mac, iOS, and Android. Albion Online is a fantasy sandbox MMORPG. It's not for the faint of heart, as it is full loot PvP. Fortunately, if you lose your full loot PvP fight, it's not too terribly difficult.
All right, EVE is literally losing to a mobile game.
To recover from. Most players are running around with gear that is worth about 1% of their net worth. Once you've been looted by an enemy, all you have to do is go back to the auction house, click a button, and you'll repurchase your loadout so that you can get back into the game again. The game features a massive progression tree where the more you use something, the more you level it up and unlock things down that branch of the tree. Albion Online can be played for free or with an optional sub. That optional sub is going to give you things like quality of life and expedite your progression. The game's population has been steadily increasing increasing since 2018, helping
Yeah, dude. I think all of these either look like stable or like this is increasing. This is
it
like
climb up to number 12 on the most
It's
played
doing
MMOs
well.
list. If you're looking for something different and high
MMOs
stakes
are
that
gaming.
feels like a MOBA and an MMO merged into one beautiful creature, Albion Online might be a great choice for you. Next up, we have New World, which has slid 2 spots from number 9 to number 11.
That's weird to me. The fact that New World is down, even though it just had an expansion release, is kind of crazy to me.
Recently received its first paid expansion, which added mounts and was very well received. It's averaging around 19,000
Like, I think that people really like the New World expansion. It's crazy to me that it's actually down.
concurrent players at any one moment right now. The game is buy to play with an optional battle pass system, so there's no mandatory subscription in this one. New World features a massive seamless open world for you to explore, and that's where it really shines. It shines when you're out exploring, questing, killing,
Yeah, it's a beautiful game too.
and gathering, and all the things you stumble into along the way. Every tree, bush, or rock can be gathered to level up your crafting and gathering. New World features the trinity of tank, healer, and DPS, and has some incredibly challenging dungeons and mutations for those dungeons that basically act as a mythic plus system. This content can be incredibly fun, but it can also be difficult to find groups, but this is getting better with every patch. New World's population seems to be holding on pretty strong. Interest in the game surged during its expansion, as it does with all.
Wow, it really fell off. Damn. Yeah. Okay, so it's back basically where it was sitting before the expansion. But like in an expansion, you know you're gonna go up and you know you're gonna come back down, but you're really hoping that you don't literally go directly back to nothing again. Although I will say that they just profited. The developers are like, this is a W. We made everybody pay for a new expansion because it was, you know, like the expansion you had to pay for. And then we still maintained all of our players. So W developers in that sense, but also I think that they were hoping for something a little bit better than that.
All MMOs, but now it's falling back to normal levels, putting it down here at number 11 on the list. Next up, we have Guild Wars 2, which fell 3 places on this list as it moves farther from its last couple of very successful expansions. Guild Wars 2 had an explosive launch back in 2012 and has since been one of the most popular MMOs on the market. Guild Wars 2 has a very generous free trial, allowing you to play those first 80 levels for free. It's developed by ArenaNet and published by NCSoft. It's worth noting that since it was developed by ArenaNet, it won't feel like an NCSoft game. I'll let you decide if that's good or a bad thing. As MMOs go, Guild Wars does an excellent job of encouraging zone exploration and completion, and tried hard to break the mold of having.
Guild Wars 2 has incredible mounts. That's what I find intriguing about Guild Wars 2. I can ride something other than a goddamn horse.
Players run from one yellow exclamation mark to the next, and it's largely succeeded on those efforts. If you try it out, you'll see what I mean. It's very unique questing experience. As I mentioned, Guild Wars 2 features a very generous free trial. The first 80 levels are free, and the game does not feature a sub, not even an optional sub. So when it says you can play it for free, it means it. After the first 80 levels, there is a lot of great content to be had in the expansions. However, these will need to be purchased, and these expansions definitely house the best content in the game. It's here where you're going to get to interact with the amazing gliding and mount systems that Guild Wars has become known for. They also recently overhauled their new player experience a bit for their Steam launch, which allows you to get access to the very first mount very early in the game, as opposed to waiting all the way until you hit level 80, which was a welcome.
I think Guild Wars is still definitely a really good game. I'm actually curious where Throne and Liberty is going to sit on this list, because he does this list like once every 6 months or so. I'm curious where Throne and Liberty is actually going to sit here.
Change. Guild Wars 2 main story quest is voice acted. Both your character and the characters that you interact with are voiced. This adds a lot to the story, as you get to see your character laugh and cry and go through all the emotions that dialogue boxes are never able to convey in that level of detail. One of the most memorable parts of Guild Wars 2 is world events, where upwards of 100 players group up to take down.
That's true. I like the world versus world events or whatever. Like I hear this all the time in Guild Wars 2 are really good.
Dragons the size of skyscrapers. These fights are truly a sight to behold, and it's really cool to see that many people in the community all get together to take these things down.
In BDO, we have that too. We get together and hit this giant. It's a loot pinata. This is what our world boss looks a little different.
Down. How is Guild Wars 2 trending? Well, its population seems to be growing, but thanks to a couple of other MMOs surging recently, it's seen itself fall a few places on this list to number 10 for now. Next up,
okay, so it is still growing. So far, we've seen most of the MMOs either hold steady or increase in players, meaning the MMO genre so far is actually increasing.
We have RuneScape, or RuneScape 3. Moving up one spot to number 9, RuneScape 3 is a fantasy MMORPG originally built with Java to be played.
Stop playing fucking RuneScape. Stop doing it. Why in the are we still playing
inside of your browser? Kids were playing this MMO on library computers all over back in the early 2000s.
Bro, it's crazy, bro. That nobody ever stops playing this game. It's like, oh, I stopped playing BDO because it was boring. Oh, what are you playing now? RuneScape?
20 years later, this game is still outrageously popular. So let's take a look at it. RuneScape is interesting because there's RuneScape and then there's old school RuneScape. We'll get to old school RuneScape later, but right now let's talk about RuneScape, or RuneScape 3 as it's called. RuneScape was originally released all the way back in 2001 as a browser game, but that's largely changed as of 2016. The browser version was mostly replaced with a standalone client. RuneScape is a game where you can level anything by doing that thing. Level fishing by fishing, level magic by using magic. It's a grindy, and
it's almost like you can do that in BDO but with like way better graphics. So why are we still playing RuneScape?
MMO with tons of content, seeing as it's been getting new content for over 20 years. As much as RuneScape has evolved past its sibling old school RuneScape, it's still very much the old school MMO experience. Slow-paced fights, basic combat, and not so state-of-the-art graphics. RuneScape did add a WoW-like ability system and a very contentious cash shop as it aged, leading to the birth of its younger, older sibling, old school RuneScape. The pay-to-win nature of this cash shop didn't go over well with the community, and in a strange but telling twist, the classic version of the game without the pay-to-win cash shop has ended up with more players than the modern version. If we look at the trend for RuneScape, you can see how insanely popular it was back in the mid-2000s.
Holy shit, yeah, dude, everybody, when I was in high school, bro, everybody was playing this goddamn game. Everybody except for me, because my dad swore up and down, he was like, you will never make money playing fucking video games. Get outside. Go fucking touch grass. I swear to God, if you turn the computer on one more time, I'm gonna beat you. Okay. Joke's on you, Dad. I'm still playing video games.
Had absolutely massive popularity. If you were an MMO player but you weren't playing WoW, there's a good chance you were dabbling in RuneScape. RuneScape has lost a lot of players in the last decade, probably most of whom went to its sibling old school RuneScape, but it's still doing.
That's the crazy thing, dude. Have you ever tried Black Desert Online?
Doing well enough to land at number 9 on the list today. Next up, we have MapleStory. After a brief surge in interest in the game.
Oh, thank fucking God we're beating MapleStory. I was honestly sweating. God, this better have tanked. After the news that we heard that they are literally manipulating RNG, why is anyone still playing?
Saw it shoot up to number 5 on the list. It now sees itself falling 3 places down to number 8. MapleStory launched in 2003 in the East and 2005 in the West. This was the gateway into MMORPGs for a lot of modern day MMO players. It was immensely successful and is largely credited for introducing microtransactions to MMOs. Perhaps not the best thing to be known for. MapleStory is a free...
Oh, it's known for something else now. Because you weren't just buying microtransactions, you were buying RNG.
To play 2D side-scrolling, massively multiplayer online role-playing game developed by Wizit and published by Nexon. So far, the game has reached over 260 million registered users worldwide and grossed over $3 billion in lifetime revenue. To put that into perspective,
yeah, but don't worry, guys. They're getting fined $9 million for literally charging players for RNG for years. That it's gonna even it out. It'll be fine.
Only MMO that comes even close to having had that many people try it is World of Warcraft. It's got around 42 different classes for you to try and offers an incredibly unique and accessible experience. So if you're
Oh, Jorm, yeah, they're working on the new player experience, but like, you know, they should have probably picked a different class then.
Computer specs aren't the greatest, or if you want something completely different, perhaps give this game a try. It's got 2 decades worth of content, so there's plenty for you to do. How does it look on the charts? Well, here we see this 20-year-old MMO beating out staples in the genre like RuneScape 3 and Guild Wars 2, which is pretty impressive for this 20-year-old entry. Next up, we have Elder Scrolls Online. Released in 2014, you can play it on PC, Mac, Xbox,
and again, we see an actually good cinematic. Why can Pearl Abyss not do this? Please.
PlayStation. Elder Scrolls Online has jumped 4 places on the list, moving from number 11 to number 7. In the last year, it added a new expansion with a new class, as well as a brand new type of infinite dungeon. Elder Scrolls Online.
Yeah, holy shit, it's up 4 places from last year?
Is a beautiful theme park
Holy
MMO set in the Elder Scrolls universe and takes place about 950 years before Skyrim. This is one of the youngest games on the list and features the trinity of tank, healer, and DPS. ESO has 12-player raids, 4-player dungeons, as well as a ton of single-player content for you to enjoy. There are 3 tiers of difficulty for each of these types of content, allowing players to push themselves farther and farther. It definitely leans toward the casual MMO player and stands out as one of the more story-driven MMO experiences out there. Every quest, and I mean every quest, is voice acted. ESO is buy to play with an optional sub, so if you want, you can pick up the game and get hundreds of hours of content out of it. Elder Scrolls Online features action combat, which is often a love it or hate it topic for MMO players. If you're used to tab targeting MMOs of old, it's going to take a little bit of time to get used to this game's combat. ESO's fantastic Necrom expansion left the community reinvigorated for its future, and if we look at the chart, ESO is slowly trending down, as most all MMOs do at this stage.
Is it? Green is Elder Scrolls, right? January 8th of 2023. Number look higher. It definitely looks like it's going up to me, but like he only has it in the past 12 months.
Stage in their life, but the population is still very healthy for this game, and thanks to the fact that it features mega servers, the population is not fragmented like most MMOs, which means you won't ever have any problems finding other people to play with. 2023 saw this MMO move from number 11 to number 7 on this list. It's going to be fascinating to see what happens in 2024 while it celebrates its 10-year anniversary. Next up we have Black Desert.
No, we're not beating Lost Ark. I love how it says iOS and Android. Don't fucking compare us to BDO Mobile. All right, if you include, there's no fucking way we are literally losing to almost any of these MMOs if you include mobile. I'm not joking. If you include mobile, I guarantee you we're fucking like number 1 on this fucking list, bro. It's a totally different game though, so you can't really say you can play BDO on iOS and Android. It's not the same. It's BDO Mobile, which is a different game.
Online.
True Genshin. I forgot about, yeah. Also, Honkai Star Rail, right?
Released in 2015, playable on PlayStation, Windows, Xbox, iOS, and Android, although it's
console. Sorry, guys.
It's worth noting that the mobile version of this game cannot play with the PC and console version of this game, so it's not cross-play, but it is cross-platform. Black Desert Online is moving down 2 places from the last time I made this list, as it's moving away from its expansion. BDO is an open-world game with very little in the way of instanced content. You don't play BDO for dungeons and raids, you play BDO to kill things out in the open world, often for hours, just to gain a few percent of a...
That's right. If your favorite geometric shape is a circle, we've got you covered.
Level. BDO is very much a grindy game. It's important to note that this is an always-on PvP game. Once you hit 50, the PvP is on. Anyone can kill you at
50. Yeah.
At any time. This is definitely one of the unique qualities of the game that makes it popular among PvPers.
All right, just give him a break on, all right? Just like let him cook, all right? Like yeah, it's super PvP oriented and what he's saying is technically true. All right, look, he's fine, okay? Like it's technically like the case, you know what I mean?
BDO has earned some pretty negative associations here in the West thanks to its previous publisher making the game overly pay to win with some pretty heavy-handed monetization on top of that. But
yeah, fuck you, Cacao.
Since the developer parted ways with the publisher, the game has undone a lot of the less popular aspects of its monetization, making it possibly worth looking into if you haven't done so recently. BDO features a ton of unique classes and continues to actively update the game, but how is the game's population trending of late? Let's take a look at the Google Trends. The game's...
What the fuck? How the f... Oh, I guess we did just have the count. Damn, bro, we kind of... We'll take it from like here. Right? We were below 25 and now we're above. So technically, still doing better. This is the release and you always expect like a big drop off from release. And you know what? We're arcing back up. You know what I mean? We're on the come up. this shit's gonna go back down after the Calpheon hype dies, but like, you know, like our stock is on the big come up. Pearl Abyss stock. We are oh, that's fine. You widen it out 5 years and then holy f, we are at rock bottom right now. On God, we're at 32. We're at 32. I can't find another 30. Oh shit. All right, well, yeah, it's trending like really far down. If I go 6 months, holy shit, bro, it looks a little rough, boys. It's fine. This is fine. Don't it? Yeah. We're good. But it's trending upward. It really, yeah, it looks like. Oh shit. That's my bad, Jay. I didn't mean it. I thought, you know, like the player base is going up. How are you losing money? That's my bad.
Launch was incredible and garnered a ton of interest. It bled players for a long time, as MMOs do, but its recent expansion saw a significant increase in interest in the game. This recent expansion focused on questing and bossing, two things the game never really focused on before, and it seems to be paying off in spades. As the game moves away from this expansion, its player base is falling back down to normal, dropping it 2 places to number 6. Next up we have Lost Ark, which was released in 2019 and is
Lost Ark and BDO are battling.
Playable on PC. Lost Ark is one of the youngest MMOs on this list, and until now it had been continually falling a position or 2 every time.
All right, a lesson to developers: stop putting O's in your name. Okay, every time I see an O in an MMO name, immediately all I'm gonna see in everyone's chat is Lost Ark with the Omega Lol fucking symbol, BDO with the Omega Lol fucking symbol, New World with the Omega Lol fucking symbol, World of Warcraft WoW with the Omega Lol fucking symbol. Stop putting O's in your name, bro. You think you'd learn? ESO lost it. Yeah, exactly.
Time I updated this
Ashes of Crazy. Yeah, see, they almost had it.
List. This time, however, it's moved up 1 spot from number 6 to number 5. Lost Ark is a free-to-play top-down MMORPG that launched in the East in 2019, then finally here in the West in 2022.
Lost Ark is a beautiful fucking game. Incredible. It's got some of the best dungeons and raids in the industry. I don't feel like I could start the game today and actually have a good new player experience because the entire community would keep me from doing important content.
Ark is a beautiful.
Also, it's like ridiculously pay to win.
MMO that kind of feels like Diablo and Final Fantasy XIV had a baby, and that grew up to have a gambling addiction. The game itself feels well polished and has loads of content thanks to the fact that it launched years earlier in the East, but there's been a deep sense of dissatisfaction in the community lately. It does have a cash shop and a gear progression system that will frequently remind
you would if you dropped 10k. Oh no thanks, I'd rather have a down payment. We're good.
You of its Eastern roots. The game is absolutely pay to win, or if you prefer we can call it pay for power, but it's also one of the few MMOs.
How the fuck is that any better? How is pay for power better than pay to win?
Was that you can actually
no, it's not pay to win. You just pay and then you get stronger than everyone else.
Choose to play for completely free. And I'm not talking about those MMOs that you can try for free. You can legitimately access and play the entire game for free if you have the patience and the determination to push through the monetization of the game. There are more currencies than you can count, and your gear progression involves multiple layers of gambling said currencies. Despite its top-down view, it does feature dungeons and raids, and these are definitely some of the most popular content the game has to offer. The ultimate goal in Lost Ark is to sail around the world, collect things, and increase your character's power. The sailing is a lot of fun, especially early on when you first access it. One of the game's biggest strengths is its combat. As a lot of players will tell you, the combat is extremely satisfying. On top of that, the game has...
I've heard from multiple people that it's like BDO combat, Lost Ark combat. And although BDO is better, Lost Ark's probably the second best in the genre.
It's at least 17 different classes with more.
And like, I played it when it first came out. I only played it for like 10 hours though, so I can't give like a viable review. But I've watched other people play it for hundreds of hours. like Ellie, and Laufey. So in that case, I can tell you what it's like. It looks it looks great. Like the combat looks really, really good.
On the way, each with their own look and feel to make sure anyone can find the right class for them. If we look at Lost Ark's trends, we can see that interest in Lost Ark exploded in February of 22 when it launched in the West.
Yeah, we're all waiting for Lost Ark to make another 3 bozo situation so that Perlibus can profit off of it again.
And then quickly dropped back down below World of Warcraft, while still remaining above heavy hitters like Guild Wars 2, BDO, and ESO. For a while, it looked like Lost Ark was just going to endlessly slide down this list, but this time it actually put an end to that losing streak, moving up from 6 to number 5. Lost Ark gets a lot of flack for having
still technically trending down slightly. Barely. But basically in the same spot.
A lot of bots, and if you booted it up recently, it's pretty fair to say that. This isn't to say that it doesn't have a ton of real players as well, as it's unlike.
Well, wait, that's exactly what you just said. Wait, hold up. What?
Back down below World of Warcraft, while still remaining above heavy hitters like Guild Wars 2, BDO, and ESO. For a while, it looked like Lost Ark was just going to endlessly slide down this list, but this time it actually put an end to that losing streak, moving up from 6 to number 5. Lost Ark gets a lot of flack for having a lot of bots, and if you
well, wait, are the bots included in the players? Because like that doesn't like yeah, hold up.
Booted it up recently, it's pretty fair to say that. This isn't to say that it doesn't have a ton of real players as well, as it's
so it's not actually above any of these other games. Like, hold up. Yo, what the
unlikely Google Trends is being swayed by bots.
Oh, they're actually inflating their numbers. It's just like people tell me all the time, Blue, I make 1.5 billion silver an hour at Centaurs. That's true. If you start your hour like 40 minutes in, you can definitely make that money at Centaurs, for sure.
In the same way that Steam Charts is. Next up, we have WoW Classic, also moving up 4 places from number 8 to number 4. Thanks
because of hardcore.
To the fact that this video is well timed for its recent population bulge. It dropped its well-received Season of Discovery at the end of 2023, causing its player numbers to explode.
I have not heard crazy good things out of Season of Discovery. Some people like it, but like overall, I think it's been kind of an L.
Boosting it from the 8th position all the way here to number 4. In March of 2017, Blizzard finally caved and announced that they would be making World of Warcraft Classic. World of Warcraft Classic launched to massive appeal, much to the surprise of Blizzard, who had thought
bots everywhere. That's what I've heard. It's just there's just people exploiting the game with bots and like fly mechanics and like
there was no way players would want a classic server. This spin-off of the retail version of the game was so popular that it held down the 5th spot. It's insane to me that the classic version of an MMO sits this high on the list, but this isn't the only MMO that's achieved that, as we'll discuss later. World of Warcraft Classic was a return to WoW before its controversial additions like raid finders, excessive cash shops, and the WoW token. WoW Classic is the classic MMO experience through and through, slower combat, and a strict adherence to the trinity of tank, healer,
I got to like level 40 or something in Classic WoW.
And DPS. People actually have to use crowd control, and classes haven't been homogenized yet. WoW Classic was also a direct mainline injection of nostalgia for every MMO veteran that lived through the early years of WoW. It's going to be interesting to see how long this nostalgia-fueled trip through classic WoW can maintain its steam, and how many seasons it will be able to continue to get players to return for. If we look at the Google Trends for WoW Classic, we see its explosive launch in 2019, followed by
I played it in 2019.
By a moderate level of interest in the months and years to follow. Interest fell off heavily, but
definitely trending upward though. It's still trending up for like this year. It's going up.
The addition of hardcore level of time.
Okay, so it's definitely, I don't know, I would say it's just trending upward like overall. Like I don't know, from 2020 it's been a little bit downhill for sure. No, okay, yeah, so it's fallen off a little bit, but like even still it's
interest in the months and years to follow. Interest fell off heavily, but the addition of hardcore brought some players back, and then Season of Discovery.
Some players back, bro? Like literally everyone went to go play hardcore WoW. I thought about doing it.
Brought a ton more
because I don't know shit about WoW. Well, actually I do. I watch enough Asmon that I'm an expert at what he tells me. Exactly what he tells me. I also watch Mitch Jones a lot. He's pretty, I like him too.
Blizzard has tripled down on WoW Classic, adding hardcore and even self-found modes. Now it's
like, I don't know dick about the fucking game. If I played a hardcore WoW, it would be giga content because I would just die all the time.
Seasons becoming the norm, it's going to be interesting to see what Blizzard does next. Will we someday see WoW Classic take the route of old school RuneScape and carve its entirely own path, completely forking from retail? Only time will tell. WoW Classic was number 8 on the list last time we made it, but it's jumped up to number 4 now. Its population is pretty impressive for a spin-off of an existing MMO, and further proof that there is a strong appetite for the classic MMO experience out there. And speaking of classic MMOs, we've got old...
Stop playing RuneScape. Stop. This is a joke. This is actually a fucking prank. This is ridiculous, dude.
School RuneScape coming in at number 3. Continuing to hold down the third position is Old School RuneScape. Launching in 2013 and continuing to climb as if it was completely unaware that MMOs are supposed to become less popular with age.
This is my point.
You can play this MMO on any computer that's less than 20 years old and you're fine.
You could play it with Windows XP. Stop playing this. God damn it. Boo, I got this new gaming rig. It's got a 4090. What are you playing? I'm playing Old School RuneScape.
The system requirements are so low that this is probably one of the most accessible MMOs out there, and I think it owes a lot of its success to this. On top of that, Old School RuneScape is a game run by the players, with each significant change voted on by the player base. What do you think would happen if Old School RuneScape asked the players if they wanted to add microtransactions to the game? They would vote no, which is exactly why there are no microtransactions in the game, except for the RuneScape bond, which is a lot like a WoW token. So the game's not perfect.
So it does have it.
But hey, it's pretty close. Old School RuneScape launched as a result of a community not loving some of the changes that were made in the game. Retail RuneScape added WoW-like abilities and a cash shop that many accused of introducing pay-to-win to the game, and so the community begged developers.
Look at that. Look at the fucking graphics that you got. Look at this UI. How do you guys do it? I don't understand. The game is ancient. The game is literally decrepit. What is... Stop playing this game.
For the creation of Old School RuneScape, Jagex finally agreed and created the servers that were based on a 2007 version of the game. RuneScape does not have the player follow a linear storyline, but instead has the player choose their own path through the game. Players can choose to kill monsters, go off questing, or level up one.
It's literally communicating with me through hieroglyphics. Like, Egyptians used this.
Of their many different skills. Old School RuneScape is a make the numbers go up game. You skill up, level up your crafting, sword wielding, fishing, anything you can think of. You can level it up. And a lot of people enjoy doing this. RuneScape is a very sandboxy MMO that allows for a lot of AFK skilling, and thanks to its slow pace and incredibly low computer requirements, it's incredibly accessible. It's got some pretty involved quests.
It's not even just, you say that the graphics don't make the game look good. It's not even just the graphics. All of these other MMO, you're comparing... Lost Ark is losing to Old School RuneScape. Lost Ark. Think of all of the cool systems and like dungeons and raids and like mechanics and shit that are in Lost Ark. It's losing to a game that has you swinging a pickaxe with like 4 polygons on it.
That would be near impossible to figure out without the help of add-ons and guides, but it's also as old school as it gets, with a very clunky combat system and user interface. It will take some patience and getting used to if you're going to try this game out in 2024 for the first time. Old School RuneScape was even made available on Android.
It's not fine. It's not fine.
Android and iOS, and was the most downloaded game in 8 different countries in less than 2 weeks. And I'd wager this is a big part of why it's so popular today. Old School RuneScape has been so successful that its active player count has now far eclipsed retail RuneScape, and a lot of other MMOs for that matter. If we look at how the game is trended on Google, we can see here that it grew for a very long time, and as of last year, it's doing a good job of holding on to that growth. By the numbers, it appears that Old School RuneScape has held on to the 3rd spot. And
how in the is it going up? It's still at the same.
It looks like it's even.
What the is going on? What is that line? Stop playing it.
that it grew for a very long time, and as of the last year, it's doing a good job of holding on to that growth. By the numbers, it appears that old school RuneScape has held on to the 3rd spot, and it looks like it's even passing number 2 on occasion. Pretty impressive for being born from a browser game that was released in 2001. You can dismiss this game's success and say it's all bots, but once again, that would fail to explain its massive presence on Google Trends. Next up at number 2 is Final Fantasy XIV, launched in 2010 on PC and PlayStation. And
do I need to play Final Fantasy, bro?
we recently found out that this one's going to be coming to Xbox in 2024, so watch out for that. Final Fantasy XIV has been holding on to number 2 for a while now. It even briefly touched number 1 at the peak of its last expansion. This MMO has been growing from one expansion to the next since its launch. Final Fantasy XIV continues to be a story.
You sure fucking don't. All right.
That gives hope to rocky MMO launches today. You can fix an imperfect MMO if you're willing to listen to the feedback of your fans and put the work in. Final Fantasy XIV is a fantasy MMORPG that places massive focus on story. The single player story content comes first, and every piece of the game that follows is built in service to that end.
Only thing I hear about Final Fantasy, the story is really good. The raids and the dungeons are really good. And the ERP is the best in the genre.
The dungeons are unlocked as part of the story. The trials are unlocked and woven into the story. Some of the most memorable cutscenes in the game are delivered in the middle of a trial while you're fighting for your life. Final Fantasy XIV is a master storyteller. It also features 20 different classes and the trinity of tank, healer, and DPS. Final Fantasy XIV has a very generous free trial that it's recently improved, now allowing you to play the first 70 levels and the first 2 expansions for free. After that, you'll have to buy the game and pay for the mandatory sub. Thanks to this mandatory sub, however, this game is free of pay to win, it's free of loot boxes, and it's free of WoW tokens, and it has hundreds of cosmetics and mounts that you can earn in-game by playing the game.
Cool.
With its initial 10-year story wrapped up, it's going to be fascinating.
I thought it was a subscription based, but I guess not.
To watch and see what direction
Final Fantasy is subscription based, isn't it?
Square Enix goes with the story in their next expansion. And just as important,
it is sub based. Okay.
How many people will show up? 2024 is going to be one of the most important years for this popular MMO.
You just
will
said
it
that?
continue to be one of the only MMOs?
I zoned out because somebody in chat said that there was a cat girl, so I've been waiting for it to come up on the screen so that I can respectfully see what it looks like.
That experience long-term growth, or will it finally begin to bleed players like the rest of the MMOs on this list? If we look at how Final Fantasy XIV is trending on Google, it was battling WoW for the top spot, but with the launch of Dragonflight, that's all changed. Final Fantasy XIV now sits at a distant number 2, a long way from the number 1 MMO in the world, but still doing fantastic.
In 6 months, this shit's gonna be below all old school RuneScape. I don't know what the we're coming
compared to every other MMO. Next up, World of Warcraft, released in 2004.
You can hear like the pain in his voice. Yeah, okay, let's get it over with.
Playable on PC and Mac. Not surprisingly, WoW continues to hold down the number 1 spot with a sizable gap between it and the next biggest MMO. The lead up to Dragonflight propelled it above Final Fantasy XIV, and it's managed to hold on to a lot of that interest. Public opinion in the game has largely recovered since the self-inflicted wound that was Shadowlands, and now with
until Riot Games MMO comes out, this shit is not getting beaten.
Chris Metzen at the helm, the community has high hopes for a return to form. With the first of 3 announced expansions releasing in 2024, it's going to be a massive year for the game. People have spent their entire lives playing World of Warcraft, with some players now clocking at 18 years played. It's
that when Throne and Liberty releases in the West, WoW is getting dethroned. You mark my... I can't even finish.
a testament to the massive appeal that this game was able to garner. World of Warcraft is a massive, seamless, open world.
Sometimes I kid.
World that handles scale better than almost any other MMO I've played. You can see locations multiple zones away and get on your mount and fly there. This is something that a lot of MMOs created well after WoW are still unable to deliver on, thanks to them being broken down into smaller zones. Despite its age, WoW still looks pretty good, thanks to an art style that's aged incredibly well over the years. That and many engine overhauls have kept it feeling somewhat modern, despite being nearly 2 decades.
Do you know, okay, I will say to WoW's credit, the thing that I've loved most about WoW in the last like 5 months is Rav the Avatar. Best WoW content I've probably ever watched. And I don't even really like World of Warcraft all that much. Watched the whole damn series. Yeah, no, I mean, like, this is, like, Rav the Avatar is definitely the GOAT. It actually taught me a tremendous amount about WoW. I actually loved it. So good. I bought his mouse pad. I literally bought so I can slash pet Howard.
Decades old. WoW features the trinity of tank, healer, and DPS, and has
Where's Quinfall on the list? Oh no, these are the real games.
14 unique classes, each with multiple different specs. There's a lot of single player content for you to level your way up, as well as dungeons and raids. WoW's dungeons and raids are among the best out there, but be prepared to devote a good chunk of time to them, as they are quite a bit longer than most MMO's dungeons and raids today. So what does interest in WoW look like according to Google Trends? You can see on this.
Yo, you guys aren't joking. It's actually up tremendous. WoW is like actually up. Like, look at that. Look at that, bro. Actually kind of crazy. Like, if you look at the 2015 trend, it's definitely it's going up. Which is impressive. It's so crazy that we still don't have a fucking game that can beat WoW this far in. This is literally insane.
This graph here, how WoW absolutely dwarfs the competition.
This is interest, not current players. Well, that's what interest is, right? This is definitely, I'm pretty sure that this is
in its prime. Looking at its popularity from 2004 to 2000.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure interest over time means average players, right? Interest equals Google searches. Oh, well, maybe that's different. Google searches. Oh, okay. Well, that's different then. But even still, it's tough to get like your average players, right? We don't actually know how many players are playing each of these games. All we can do is look at the trends.
2012, nothing else even comes close. And while WoW continues to fall in popularity, when we zoom in and look at the last 5 years, there is still a substantial gap between interest in WoW and the interest in every other MMO we've discussed. So
No. This is fall. Okay, this is down. This is an example of fall. This is not fall.
far, this titan in the industry is still just that, a titan in the industry. And with the success of Dragonflight, it's back to the #1 spot. In fact, WoW's rise wasn't overnight. It's been on an upward trend for the last couple of years now. But can it maintain its momentum this time? We'll check back on it later in the year, but for now, it's #1 and it's not even close. It's been an amazing year for MMOs. We've seen multiple MMOs drop absolutely stunning expansions.
I think that this year is going to be even better, to be honest.
Like ESO's Necrom or Guild Wars 2's Secrets of the Obscure and BDO. But it looks like that's going to be nothing compared to 2024, which is setting up to be a massive year with expansions coming to both Final Fantasy XIV and World of Warcraft. Did any of the results on this list surprise you? What are you looking forward to in 2024? Let me know down in the comments below. Which MMOs do you think are going to move up on this?
I think the best part of 2024 is going to be farming Quinfall for the ridiculous amount of content it's going to give us. Like, not an actual game, man. Awesome.
List or down, and where do you think Throne and Liberty will land on this list when it—
That's what I was saying, bro. I'm actually okay. Predictions for Throne and Liberty. I think TNL is going to be somewhere around, it'll probably beat the Old Republic but not beat Albion. That's where I think it's going to end up. I think it's going to be right here. What number is this? It'll be number 13. It'll be number 13, I think. That's where I think it's going to land. But we'll see. Regardless, this is a great video. Lucky Ghost is a GOAT.